WELSTech is a bi-weekly podcast exploring the intersections of technology and ministry. It is part of the podcast network sponsored by WELS, the Wisconsin Evangelical Lutheran Synod. Our show today is hosted by Martin Spriggs and Sally Draper. Welcome to WELSTech, everybody. This is episode 702, a show about technology and ministry and where those two intersect. I'm your host, Martin Spriggs, and it is Tuesday, May 11th, 2023. Each week, we talk to experts in the field of ministry and technology about how it can be used to enhance the work of the church. We cover a wide range of topics, from using social media to reach new people, to using technology to improve worship experiences. We also share our own experiences with using technology in ministry, and we offer tips and advice for others who are looking to do the same. Hey, Jason, Sally, and Rachel. Welcome back to WELSTech.
Happy to be back. It's been a while, and it's nice to sit in this chair again and have a good tech and ministry conversation with you, with all three of you.
By the way, the intro I just read was created by our good friends at Google through their Bard AI tool, which I just signed up for. So if it sounded a little bit different, that was Google talking. So,
well, and it just goes, and that just goes to show that Bard doesn't know what it's talking about, because it said something about experts, and I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that. At least from myself, I don't know. Like you guys can claim that hat, but. I love it though. That was like I was listening the whole time, Martin. I was like, wow, hey, that's pretty flowery.
Is that what we do here? Yeah. That is actually amazing, because it's pulling that from obviously content across the web, and it knows about us. So that's encouraging. So we probably should talk about why we're on episode 702 when we probably should have hit episode 702 like a couple months, 3 months ago, maybe. So we were on a little bit of a hiatus, and maybe I'll let Sally bring us up to speed on why all that happened.
Well, it all goes back to traveling to California, Martin, and I do not recommend
everything starts in California.
No, actually, I was blessed to be able to go along on the MLC alumni tour in California and saw California Lutheran High School and worshiped and listened to a choir concert at one of the churches, and just had a wonderful time. But then I fell ill, unfortunately, and the results of it were that I was paralyzed. It was kind of a scary time for me. I am back and actually learning to walk again. So kind of taking some baby steps, but I'm actually able to climb stairs and walk very slowly so far. But people promise me that it's going to get better and better. So I'm looking forward to that, doing lots of physical and occupational therapy, and trying to rest a lot because it's pretty exhausting. Mm-hmm. But wonderful to be back at work and back in the swing of things. And thanks for waiting on me.
Awesome to have you back. We were praying for you, still do, and we're encouraged each time you have a little update, because it seems like you're moving in the right direction, so to speak. After you bought that house with all those stairs too, right?
Yeah, the house is an old Victorian. The first floor is 10-foot ceilings. So there's actually, I've counted them many times, 17 stairs to my bedroom on the second floor. So I didn't make it up here until 2 months after my trip to California. I literally could only be on the first floor for a long time and had to have people get me into the house because there's stairs outside too. So feeling very blessed that I can do stairs again.
Excellent.
Yeah.
If you didn't guess, we're talking about AI in technology, and actually we're finishing up a series on the Incredibles of EdTech. And I'm no expert on the Incredibles, but Jack is the character that we're focusing on. And maybe one of you that are more familiar with the, is it a trilogy? How many Incredible movies are there? 2? Okay, so you can't call it a trilogy yet, but who's Jack, and why are we talking about him?
I don't know if one of you guys want to jump in on that.
Yeah, we'll call it a duology, Martin. So yeah, there are two of them. So yeah, Jack is the baby of the family, and they're concerned that he doesn't have any powers at the end of by the end of the first movie. But what they found out is he can set himself on fire. He can turn into an invincible metal baby, and then he also has like a dark side, kind of almost like a like a little gremlin where he can, like just gets enraged and stuff like that. So he actually has some very versatile powers, and can is incredibly powerful, probably the most powerful one of the whole family, but also a little scary, and maybe somebody we want to be a little cautious around. So that's why we thought that Jack was a good avatar for artificial intelligence.
It is a little scary and it's powerful, and we don't know all the possibilities yet. And I think there's probably very few teachers out there that don't feel the same way, right?
Yeah, definitely. I've read plenty of articles about how teachers are struggling. They see some positives with it, but they see how their students could use it and basically get around doing different assignments and things by having the AI do it and answer it for them. So I think there's pluses and minuses, kind of like I think in our pre-show discussion, we talked about the fear around iPods and smartphones and things like that. Maybe there was some fears around the printing press way back in Luther's time. This new technology thing does tend to introduce so many possibilities that are unknown to us. Even like Jack, children, have their whole life ahead of them and so many possibilities. So more parallels there.
Rachel, I'd be interested in your take. You're sending off teachers into the world here. Assignment day is coming up on Saturday at Martin Luther College. What are they getting themselves into when we're talking about AI in the classroom? What are their concerns? What's in their head at this point?
Oh, I wish I knew. This is one of those things that as we start to learn more and see more applications of it, there are just so many things that teachers rely on, short answers, essays, chapter summaries, those kind of assignments that an AI can do really, really well. And it's very tricky to find out if it was written by an AI. There are sites that teachers can use that say, hey, was this written by an AI? But then if you just go back and tell the AI, please write it so that this other AI can't tell that it was written by an AI, then it does that. So we've been experimenting with it quite a bit in our network services office, actually, and really been impressed/scared with some of the results. We use Moodle as our learning management system, and I asked one of our programmers, hey, could you do this thing in Moodle? And he said, yeah, probably. And then he went to ChatGPT and said, hey, can you make this thing? And ChatGPT spit back a code, not like a secret code, but like, computer programming code that worked. Did exactly what we wanted it to do. And rather than our programmer having to sit, for a while and figure all that out, just put it right in there, which is amazingly frightening. So there are a lot of really cool things and just not a lot of frightening things too.
Yeah, and that, Rachel, that that kind of plays into some of the conversations that we've been having too around these tools and some of the usefulness of some of these things that are out there. One of the things that we do on a very consistent basis is we build question banks, and it's something that's very time consuming. You have to do specific formatting, and it's very it's content specific. So we have been it costs time and people to be able to build some of these things, and we have transitioned to using ChatGPT to build these question banks. So we paste in a whole bunch of text and then say, generate 30 questions based on this content. And now we're no longer generating that stuff, but we're proofreading it. So it takes that cognitive load off of just creating that kind of content and really changing that emphasis to proofreading, editing, revising, and fact checking, because that's the other big part of it is and could be one of the things just to watch out for is the fact that it's only as accurate as the database that it's pulling from. And very frequently, because it's a machine, right, it doesn't have a moral filter or or discerning. Like, it's not, we call it artificial intelligence, but it's not intelligent. It's just spitting things back based on an algorithm. So it really becomes important to be literate about information and not just relying on these things. Like, just because they generate something doesn't mean that it's necessarily accurate. Always want to make sure that we're verifying that what we're getting out of it is what's worthwhile. And I think that's, like, it gets us to start thinking about how, like, if a student can answer this and get a good grade using AI, then maybe we need to think about the kinds of questions that we're asking and using that to rethink assessment. So like Sally mentioned, we had a similar panic with phones in the classroom. We had a similar panic with calculators in the classroom, right? And then I'll get to my pick of the week in a little bit. But that's just one of those. But it's one of those things. Like, we've seen this before. I think this is just probably one of the more disruptive things that's happened in recent memory, anyways. So I'm excited about it. I think it's really cool. And the possibilities are endless. We just need to figure out how to do this responsibly. Because kind of we'll mix superhero metaphors, right? With great power comes great responsibility. So maybe we put Jack in a Spider-Man costume. I bet we could do that. Like, I think we should talk to Dolly and have AI generate that for us. I think it could happen, Martin and Sally.
Okay, I got to share my screen. Sorry, tag team off of that. I didn't use Dolly, which is one that generates images, but I used Bing's image generator, which is free. And I asked it to do llamas listening to music on a sunny day in a meadow. And man, did I get amazing results. I am so thrilled with these images that Bing generated for me. And I bet nothing like this has ever existed before. So, the possibilities are endless.
Jason, you brought up calculators in the classroom, and I remember obviously when that happened and how they were forbidden, and then you couldn't bring watches with that in there, and all that kind of stuff. Is this really the same thing? I mean, are we saying, and ultimately calculators found their way into the classroom because they were a tool. We felt that there was a tool that made sense, and we said, let's get this in the hands of our kids because it's helpful. I'm hearing that maybe AI is maybe in that same class. We have to treat it with some, baby steps, and then ultimately see where it fits for the greater good in education. Is that kind of where your head's at too?
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, the genie's out of the bottle now, right? And we can't put it back. We can't undo the things that are out there. So, we may have really good reasons for this kind of thing to not be out there, or, to have things the way that they are and that the way that they always have been. But this is like, we can't go backwards. So, it's more, I think my perspective on it is more of acknowledging the reality and understanding, like, this is going to be a part of our lives no matter what. So we're going to have to figure out how to coexist with these tools, and leverage them for what they are. And then it's going to cause a shift on the kinds of skills that we're working to develop with kids.
So
Oh, go ahead, Sally.
Well, I was just going to say, I can foresee a summer full of professional development. Like your summer scripts just got written as to what you're going to be doing. And just wanted to point out a couple of sites that we found. And I'll just share my screen one more time. In particular, Ditch That Textbook has 30 AI tools for the classroom, where they've compiled a list and they talk a little bit about what it is. And then they have links to all these different sites that have potential, but not just links. They go into each one and explain it a bit, talk about pricing and things, give you links to it, and other things. So I found a couple that were interesting. Perplexity, in particular, it's very similar to ChatGPT, but it actually gives you sources. So you can dig deeper into the sources, you can cite the sources and things like that. And then another one that I just wanted to mention, and that one's free, Perplexity, as well as Conquer, CONKER.ai, where it'll generate quizzes with different types of questions. You tell it the age and the subject and other details and things, and it can do multiple choice, read and respond, or fill in the blank type quizzes, or a combination. And it even hooks up to your Google Forms and can put the questions in there. And so that one's free as well. Just a couple of examples from that resource site.
Yeah, the Bing AI also does the reference thing, which is kind of nice. I think that's that's kind of a way to do a double check. I got to share my screen here now too. For those of you listening at home, we've got, I just typed in Jack dressed like Spider-Man into Bing image creator, and
that's great.
Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
I don't know. I think my llamas were better, but whatever.
They were.
The llamas are definitely cuter, but yeah, that's pretty impressive though.
Any other tools that are out there that we should be kind of talking about? Because there's AI, but basically it's only as useful as the kind of the use cases that some of these tools are being built up, and they're coming out every day. Anything else that we see that's kind of impressive that we may want to maybe try out, kick the tires on?
I think what'll be interesting is to see how many of these tools last.
Yeah.
Through the summer into the next school year, because there are just tons of tools that do so many things, and the truth is only a certain number of them can survive before they start buying each other up and all that good stuff. But they're worth a try, I think, especially for boosting productivity. The student side is a little frightening. The teacher side, though, is awesome. I'm teaching a class this summer on something about slides. You taught it a while ago, Martin, actually. And I'm teaching it to teachers in both of the water towns, South Dakota and Wisconsin. And I needed a starting point. And I said, hey, can you give me a course outline about this topic? And sure enough, ChatGPT spit me back a course outline with assessments and learning goals and all sorts of stuff. So I've used it as a good starting point. Sometimes I get a little stuck in my head and don't know where to start. Did the same thing we're switching to Moodle 4 in August, and I needed a kind of training site for our students to get used to it. And I'm like, well, ChatGPT, what can you tell me? And again, it spit out a couple of units. Hey, you should make sure you cover this, and this. I've also used it for writing emails, and you've got those students who just don't turn in their work. Tell the AI, hey, can you give me an email about how to a student who hasn't turned in any work, and make it sound nice, forceful. And you get one. And all that, the cognitive load that I would have used to figure out, okay, what words do I use, all that stuff. Now it's let's proofread it and make sure it makes sense and go on to the next thing, which I think is just, it's a game changer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to see it, in things like Grammarly. It's already, I think, kind of there. You're going to see it. I think it's in Word now with the Bing tools. If you're using Word online, I'm sure Google's going to embed it in Google Docs. Notion, the popular note taking app, has it now. All the graphics tools like Canva and those kinds of things, they're all figuring out how to put this in some way. And I think the ones that do it successfully are maybe going to separate their products from the others, because it's going to be an expectation, regardless of what you're doing.
One more resource I wanted to jump in with, and I'm not sure who contributed this to the conversation, so you guys can jump in and talk about it yourselves, but there's a site called learnprompting.org, and it's about giving AI good prompts, and there's a whole training around that concept. So who was it that contributed this? Somebody's using this.
Yeah, that was me, Sally. So we're again on that journey of embracing these tools and knowing that they're going to be a part of our lives. So how can we leverage these the best way that we can? So this learnprompting.org is it's free, and it's a great place to go to learn how to generate those prompts. So and it's specifically geared towards Chat GPT. So if you try, like if you use Bard or one of those other generative AI tools that are out there, some of these concepts will transfer, but it's just really, if you're coming in with base knowledge 0, which is a lot of people, like, for me, like I was just kind of playing around with this stuff and, just trying to kind of see what works. But, when you get into something like this and you do a little bit more study on like the specific ways to ask certain questions, you get it to behave in a different way, which is really interesting and compelling.
You're almost giving the AI kind of a profile. Who are you? I get that sense in a lot of the prompts.
Mm-hmm.
You're a so-and-so, or you think like this, or you approach things like that.
Yep. Yeah. Editor bot, take a look at my paper and make it 3 paragraphs shorter and make sure that it follows this structure. Like you can, and you get like, I don't know, it's something like 4,000 words or something like that for the length of your prompts. So you can get really specific on what you have it do and how it operates.
Here's a sample email, just like Rachel was describing. It says, my name's Mario. My boss's name is John. Write a humorous yet professional email to my boss saying that I'll be out of the office today since I'm sick. Be concise and funny. Include a funny reason. Dear John, I'm writing to let you know that I'll be out of the office today. I know I'm supposed to be working, but I just couldn't resist the call of the siren song of the local donut shop. I'm sure you understand. I'll be back in the office tomorrow and we'll make up the time. Thanks, Mario. So there you go. Martin, you're going to be getting emails like this from me. Siren song of the local donut shop.
The only thing that it's missing is a cat fountain.
You can't just leave that hanging out there, Jason.
Rachel has a fountain of cats, I guess, in her place. So we're listening for that in the background. I still don't hear it though, Rachel.
I mean, I can move my computer closer if you'd like to hear it.
Oh no, that's okay. I have to. It's getting close to break time, so we want to finish the podcast first.
All right, it's just a little tease. All right, let's move on. I guess one thing that I would encourage our listeners to do is let us know through the show notes page or communicate with us on our email, WELSTech@wels.net, and let us know how you might be using or have used AI tools in your ministry. we'd be very interested in hearing more examples of that, how it applies specifically to ministry opportunities here. Ministry resource. I've forgotten kind of our cadence here. Ministry resources are up next. That's a section where we pick a tool, a site, an event, something that we want to highlight as something that you might want to consider as a way to enhance your particular ministry or an intersection of technology and ministry. Sally, what do we come up with here?
Well, I'm going to tip my hat to Rachel on this one. And I gave you a little bit of a lead in because I think professional development on AI is going to be very big this summer. And MLC's Open Learning Conference. It's back again this summer. And Rachel, maybe you want to tell us about some of the topics that will be featured.
Absolutely. So this is a free online conference that MLC offers. We started offering it, I think 2 or 3, 4 years ago, something like that. And we're happy to offer it again. The first day, we are looking pretty much just at AI. We are looking at how it can transform student productivity, how it can transform or teacher productivity, student assessment. We'll start off with just a general overview. What is AI? Because that in and of itself is a confusing yet super interesting topic. So those are our first 3 sessions on Tuesday, June 13th. And then the following day on the 14th, we're going to be talking, first, James Karlowski is going to tell us about what we do without sex and math, which is a topic a lot of our schools are struggling with. And then we have 2 about kind of how we help the parents at our schools become spiritual leaders. How do we help our families in our schools, because there's so many things to struggle with, and AI is definitely not even among the worst. And so how can we help make sure that our school families especially, but congregations, students are really strong in their faith and able to make some of those difficult decisions. So that is Tuesday and Wednesday, June 13th and 14th. Both days, it starts at 10 a.m. Central New Ulm time. They are recorded, so you can view them later if you aren't available those days. But you can register on the MLC website, mlc-wells.edu/open-learning. And it is free.
Love the price tag. That's awesome.
Awesome. Yep.
And it's something that we can do for our churches and schools, and we're blessed to be able to do it.
The fact that day one is totally AI is interesting, kind of telling in and of itself. So nice. All right, let's move on to our tips and or picks of the week. It's guest hosts first and ladies first. Rachel, what is your pick of the week?
All right. So mine, I found on TikTok last night, and it has a very strange URL. It's goblin.tools, which sounds odd, but it is super cool. So this is a website of various AI tools. And the reason it caught my eye is because I sometimes have a hard time with if a task seems too big and overwhelming for me to accomplish at in one sitting or at one time, I just won't do it. And sometimes have a hard time breaking those tasks down into smaller, more manageable chunks. Well, this website does it for you. So one of the tools is Magic To Do, and you just put in the thing that you want to do, maybe like cleaning the kitchen, and then you say how much its spiciness level. And what they mean by that is if it's really spicy, you think wow, this is a really complex task. I really need it broken down. Not so spicy, just need it broken down a little bit. So you choose that spiciness level, and then you press a magic wand after you press the plus sign. And it thinks for a little bit, and it will give you a list of all the things that you need to do to accomplish that bigger task. And for me, this is just awesome, like, because it does just break it down into little manageable chunks. And that's just one of the tools on Goblin tools. There's also there's the formalizer, which is where you can take your text and say, hey, that this is a really terrible idea. I don't agree with it. And then put that in and say, hey, please make my text more formal. And you will come out with a professional email. You can also make it less formal, which I think is very interesting, less emotional, more passionate. So it can, if you struggle to write those kind of emails or letters or whatever, that can really help you. There's also the judge, where you can put in text and see how your tone comes across. Can be very helpful for checking those emails before you send them. There's an estimator, which I don't know how it can possibly tell you how long something's going to take. Like if I tell it to clean the kitchen, it says it's going to take me 30 minutes to 2 hours.
Your kitchen must be dirtier than mine. Mine's only going to take 30 minutes to an hour.
Well, my kitchen probably is. It's been a crazy week.
It knows you. It knows where you live.
Yeah, it probably does. I'm not entirely sure how accurate or helpful that is, but hey, it's there. And then it also has a compiler. And when I saw this one being demoed on TikTok, the person had used speech to text and was just basically talking all the things that they had to do into the text box. And then you could type or talk all those things, and then it'll turn it into a to-do list for you. So it can really help with just kind of, it was on #ADHD TikTok. And to help people focus on what they need to do. And I think this could be, I've used the to-do list just this morning and was really happy with it. So I'm looking forward to using it more. Also, the little goblin icon is super cute. So that always helps.
All right. Win.
Very nice.
Including the icon. It's great.
Looks like a happy baby Yoda. Goblin.tools is the pick. All right, Jason, you're up.
Thank you. So my pick of the week comes back to this is a flashback, right? So I talked about calculators a little bit earlier and calculators in school, and one of the best ways to sneak one in was to put it on your wrist as a as a watch. So I found out that Casio actually still makes these. So if you are looking for a new watch or a replacement watch, and not ready to give up your completely smartwatch, we just want to have one with average intelligence or above average intelligence, then we can go to Casio and pick up a data bank with the calculator on there. So I thought that was a fun bit of nostalgia. It brought me back to my 7th grade year when I got in trouble, which is, it's like I'm not one to push the envelope. You guys don't know that about me. But this is a big reveal. I know that is something that I know you guys are really surprised to hear that, but anyways, I thought this was really cool. And, for $30, I might have to pick one up, just to relive those glory days of being 12. So that's my pick this week.
Says it comes in vintage mannish colors. Woohoo! That's a real selling point. Mannish colors.
Like 12-year-old size fingers to hit those buttons. So.
Fingernails, Martin. It was my incentive to stop biting my fingernails so I could push the buttons.
Very, very good. I love it. All right, Sally.
Well, we got a theme going here because mine's a watch as well. And I have purchased actually birthday gift, an Apple Watch, low-end SE version. But it's really nice, and it even has Minnie Mouse on the screen, and she'll tell me. She speaks to me in Minnie Mouse language as well. So that makes me very happy. But one of the cool reasons I wanted to tell you about it is something I learned about Apple Fitness. And if you're in the iOS space, you're probably familiar with Apple Fitness, and the watch is really great with keeping up with your movement and your exercise and your heart rate and all kinds of cool things. But did you know that there's a wheelchair option in Apple Fitness? So if you aren't exactly taking steps these days, like someone I know, you can put it on the wheelchair option, and it'll remind you to get out and do some rolling in your wheelchair every hour, and keep up with the number of times that you've rolled your wheelchair. So little known fact, but those with some walking disabilities are also included in Apple Fitness. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's just one of the things I'm using it for, and I'm still learning. So maybe future picks will focus on the Apple Watch as well. But for now, I'm really happy with it, and I just am in love with Minnie Mouse. So that's what I got for you.
Question for Apple Watch users is always, which band did you pick?
Well, I went with the white, but then I ordered a set of 3 that are laser engraved with flowers. So it's kind of a leathery band, and I have black and green and purple. So I have options.
No llamas yet.
No llamas, but I could put llamas on my home screen. I just have to get rid of Minnie Mouse. And I just can't stand to get rid of that little voice. I love it.
Oh, boy. All right. Thank you, Sally. My pick of the week is actually a note-taking app, something that I'm on a constant quest to find one that is actually easy to use and something that is not getting in the way of my digital note-taking. And lo and behold, on my Apple devices, there's a free built-in tool called Apple Notes. I put a link in the show. I will put a link in the show notes, or Sally will put a link in the show notes for a nice blog post from the Paper-like people, which create screens for iPads, give it more of a paper-like feeling. But they did a nice review of Apple Notes. Apple Notes has been around a long time, but over the last couple of years, they've made some nice improvements. It does nice handwriting recognition. You can type, you can embed documents in it. It does OCR, optical character recognition. I don't think it has any AI yet, but maybe that's coming. But it is super easy to use if you are especially an Apple user, whether you're on a Mac or an iPad or an iPhone. It's super easy to get up, easy to search, to categorize, to use tagging, to put in folders. You can have up to, I think, a depth of 5 subfolders. So if you're into super micro organization, you can do that with Apple Notes. And just kind of a simple, get out of my way kind of a tool. And it's got minimal formatting. But I think it's something worth trying. I've tried all of the other ones, those that support handwriting and those that don't. And Apple just makes this so easy to use. And so that's the one I'm using. And usually I use my note-taking app just to get quick notes down, and ultimately the notes that I take usually go into some other system if they're worth saving, whether that's into OneNote or into a task management system or Trello or something like this. But oftentimes when I'm taking notes, I just need to be able to get at it quickly and then remember where I put it. So Apple Notes does that nicely, and it comes along free for the ride, so you don't really have to have any kind of investment to try it. But that is my pick of the week, Apple Notes.
And I am a notes user on my iPhone, Martin, but I had no clue that it could do all this stuff. I use it most often when I copy something on my iPhone and I don't want to lose what I've copied. I'll go dump it into Notes because it doesn't allow you to go back over several copies or whatever and retain that copy stuff. So, but man, I'm going to check out all this capability here. And yeah, what I have up on the screen is the article about it, but we'll definitely have a link to the app
Apple's
as
official
well.
page. Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of nice if you're on a web page, let's say you're on your iPad or something, and you open up a quick note, it can automatically embed a link right to that website, and then you can take notations on that, or whether it's a YouTube video, something like that. So works pretty well.
That is very cool.
All right, that is our pick. Those are our picks of the week. Thanks, one and all interesting, of course. Community news and feedback is our last segment. Sally, we have anything in this category?
We do, and it's going to be a lot of fun for me to describe this. I'm going to share my screen first because we got an email with photos, which is probably our favorite kind of email to get. And it was from a friend in Sweden. His name is Carl Birkenfeel. And Carl, my apologies if I've mispronounced your last name. I'm known for that. But we really appreciate that you wrote to us. He says, I thought it might be interesting for you that I share some of the technology I bring with me and use every Sunday to stream the service at the Lutheran Confessional Church of Sweden, Stockholm. So, he gave us a couple of links, a link to their church body, but on the CELC website, but also a link to their YouTube channel. So you can see some of his streaming if you want to check it out. What I'm showing here is his packed up gear. He's kind of a one-man show. And here is all of his setup as he's streaming the services. And it's quite impressive. He goes on in his email to describe it. And he says he uses a lot of different things, a pair of lavaliers, a couple of wireless Go from Rode, with inbuilt audio recording as an extra backup. And then he goes into the different things that it's connected into. And honestly, it's extremely detailed. So what I'm going to do is throw all of that description into a little side note on the show notes page so that you can read through all his different equipment, perhaps learn something, or maybe you even have questions for Carl that you'd like to get in touch with him and ask him about. But definitely an impressive setup, and kudos to you, Carl. He says, I work mostly alone, so it's a challenge to make all things exact in time. I can imagine it's a challenge. So that's really an impressive setup, and thanks very much for sharing it. We'll definitely include links in the show notes to the YouTube channel so people can check out your recordings. Cool stuff.
Jason or Rachel, was it one of you that brought up the Stream Deck a while back? Forget which one of you.
Yeah, that was me. I got one.
He's got one right there on the table. I don't know if you noticed that on the picture there. So
yeah,
pretty
I
cool.
love that thing.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then just one more mention. It's a link to EdTech Awards. So one of the emails that I get daily or on weekdays is from Smart Brief. They do a lot of different compilation type email blasts, and one in particular is focused on educational technology. And so they did a survey recently for their Reader's Choice Awards, and they have a lot of different recommendations here for classroom assessment. They like iReady and Otis assessment, professional development. They mentioned Lexia, classroom management tools, curriculum development, the Eduverse, and Pilot Interactives. There's early education recommendations, hardware and technology, reading and literacy, safety and security. It goes on, social, emotional, special ed, and STEM. So definitely check out their recommendations. Let us know if you're using any of these and what your experience has been, or if there's something new here that you try out, let us know what you think of it. But always interesting to get kind of this compilation and see what other people are using and what they recommend.
Very nice. If you want to contribute to the show, I think I mentioned it earlier, it's pretty easy to do. Go to wellstech.wels.net and make a comment on any of the shows in the show notes, or leave an email, wellstech@wels.net. or connect with us on any of the socials, Facebook, Pinterest, of course, Twitter, Digo, we're still on, Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. We also have a thriving community through Google Groups. So that link is there as well. So lots of ways to get in touch with us, join the conversation. Glad that so glad that Sally is back for 702. That was a breath of fresh air to be able to get back in the seat. And even though we were a little rusty, I think we got some good stuff out there. So our thanks again to Jason and Rachel for taking time out of their day to join us once again, and welcome Sally back. And we look forward to doing this again. So blessings on your ministries, everybody, and talk to you next time. Bye-bye.